Hi. Story time. Are you ready for this one? Okay, so a lot of you know that I am mourning my Uncle Jeff this week. Here he is, this beautiful man, this Vietnam vet, and so much more. And when we lose people that we love, we remember things sometimes that we don't even remember how we remember them. Moments that we've shared with them that are unforgettable. I've had quite a few moments like that with Uncle Jeff, singing with him and talking with him. He was very gregarious, and one of my favorite things to do was to talk as long as he would until he got off the phone, because a lot of times I would be rushing to work and I'd have to get off the phone first, but it was just so wonderful that he would talk and talk and talk, and it was like abundant. It was like giving your time to someone and talking to someone can be such a gift in this hustle and bustle world. So to have that kind of connection, I just loved so much. So I remember this one conversation that we had so vividly. I actually remember where I was when we had this conversation on the phone, which is pretty rare, I think. But it was a very significant conversation, and you'll see why. So basically, I remember it was probably my birthday, because that's when we talked on the phone the most, or it was a few days before or a few days afterwards. And I was in my kitchen at a house on Selman Street, like 75 Selman Street or 73 in Cabbagetown in Georgia. And I must have moved like 7 times since then, maybe even 8 or 9. So I could say that maybe it was our last conversation, which would make me really, really, really sad. And that's something I'm kind of struggling with. Like, gosh, when did we lose touch? Like, why wasn't I more assertive in keeping that connection? But I mean, the truth is he got unwell to a point where talking on the phone just wasn't that much of an easy thing for him to do. So anyway, Pinky, where did you go? Did you want to join the story? Yeah, I did. Okay, let's see if you can hang out on my shoulder while I tell everyone this story. So anyway, we're talking, and I think we were talking about my brother's wedding and just how it was. And I think I asked him, I gotta be honest, I don't remember all the details of this conversation, like, at all. So some of it I'm going to guess, but the main part of this conversation I remember pretty vividly. Somehow the topic came up. I think I had recently fallen in love, and I was like, well, when am I gonna see you again? And I said, you know what? I'm gonna see you on my wedding, when I have a wedding. Sorry, Pinky. It's okay. And he said, no, you're not. Okay, so this was a little bit perhaps foretelling. I said, what do you mean? You're not gonna come to my wedding, Uncle Jeff? And he said, Aviva, I'm not going to be able to come to your wedding. It'll only be for the fittest of fit. And I was like, Uncle Jeff, you are very fit. You taught me that I need to exercise and be aggressive with that. He would send me different exercise booklets on how to exercise and stuff. He said, well, not your wedding. He said, your wedding, Aviva, I could see it now. It is going to be on the top of a mountain, and only very few people will be able to come. It'll be like a week-long retreat. It'll take like a week to climb to the top, and that's where your ceremony will be. People will have to like climb, do rock climbing, and cross over creeks. Now at this point, I'm like hysterical laughing because I don't know where he got this from, and I'm thinking to myself, this actually sounds really cool also. And so I said, wow, that sounds really fun. And he said, no, not for you. You're not going to get to go through that obstacle course. You're going to have to be at the top of the mountain the whole time getting ready for the wedding. And I said, oh, really? I said, well, you know what, Uncle Jeff, like, I'm sure that we have to be able to have shortcuts to the top of the mountain because not everyone's going to be able to do that obstacle course. So I'm sure there'll be an option for you. You can fly on a helicopter and come to the top of the mountain. He goes, oh yes, there will be helicopters, but it'll only be for you. You will take a helicopter to the top of the mountain and you will be able to enjoy that luxury. And I was like, no, you can go on the helicopter too. He goes, nope, I won't be able to go to your wedding. So a part of me, it was like, where is he coming from? But we were just laughing, and I was like, what about the food? And he's like, they'll just pick their own in the garden that you'll have. I know you. And I'm thinking, does he know me? Like, how does he know this? This is so crazy that he's putting me in this really interesting box, which is not even a box, which is totally out there. And it was just such a fun conversation. And just to kind of like, for shock value, I said, well, it's going to be clothing optional, right? Because I think he asked me like, what, like, I think he talked about something I would be wearing. And then he just got really quiet, and it totally made him laugh. And he was just like, no, you have to wear clothes. So, wow. I mean, a wedding is a magical thing. I think it would be kind of crazy for me to do that. You know, I think a lot of us has fantasized about our weddings, and one thing that I've had a couple of different fantasies, and one of them is to have a fully choreographed show going down the aisle. And the other one is kind of more in this style, which is like, what do you call it? A potluck, where it's just like homemade food instead of being catered, because I always hate to see all the food being wasted and catered at the end of the event. And this would be more of like I've been to a lot of like farm weddings where there's just home cooked meal and blah blah blah, and people just bring their own stuff, and it's just a beautiful way to connect. But anyway, back to the conversation. We were just laughing, and he was just going on and on about the obstacle course to get to my wedding, and I just thought it was the funniest thing, and also a little bit sad that he was so sure that he wouldn't come to my wedding, and he is correct. He passed on Friday, and I'm still grieving. I'm still shocked. I cried a little bit, but there's a lot of more tears to come. I'm about to do a memorial service support group thing with my family where we get to share stories. And I hope more of that story comes back to me, the details of this wedding that he imagined me having, because I just thought it was just such a sweet thing for an uncle to talk about with his niece. So anyway, that's my story about my future clothing optional wedding. What do you think? Would you come to a clothing optional wedding? Would you climb a mountain to see me get married? Is this really going to happen? Is it only going to happen because of necessity? Or are we all going to be living after the crazy apocalypse in a way that we have to kind of hide in the mountains? Or would this be purely an entertaining thing? I don't know. What do you think, Pinky? I'm not going to go to that stupid wedding. Pinky! I mean, unless I could fly the helicopter with Petunia. Well, I'm sure that can be arranged. Anyway, love y'all. Thanks for listening to my silly story. I'm just like in that kitchen now on Selman Street right now. Do y'all ever have that where you remember phone conversations where you're actually like remember where you're sitting? Isn't memory such an elusive thing? Actually, I wasn't sitting, I was standing, and I was just laughing. I was just so shocked with the creative things he was coming up with. A very, very creative soul. I am praying for him right now that he is going over that rainbow bridge with such light and such ease, and really encountering the loving vibrations with harmony as he goes to the next evolution of wherever his soul brings him. Love and light, everyone.